scene goes first. So, first, please welcome up Gabe.
The deep 12-foot pool staring back at me with its look almost as if I stepped in, I would be eaten whole. I felt almost as if I stepped foot in it, I would be dragged down by long arms ready to grasp my ankles and pull me under. I was afraid and prepared to be eaten whole, and with this image in my head of going in and never servicing again, terrified by the core. This image in my head, with this image in my head, I could only dip one tone at a time, and after a matter of time, I had only gotten one leg in. After what felt like hours, which was only about 5 minutes, I eventually got my whole body into the pool, with just my head poking out of the cold water. When I got in, nothing happened. I was fine. No long arms to grasp my ankles and pull me under. I was ready to start my warm-up. As soon as I leapt off the wall, I had this sinking feeling in my stomach. What if I got stuck in the middle of the pool and my whole body cramped up and I fell into the deep gaping mouth of the pool? Or what if my body got so tired I physically cannot go further and the long arms came and grasped my ankles and pulled me under? Even with these thoughts, I knew how to persist if I wanted to reach my goal of joining a swim team and passing some trial. Each long and tireless practice made me even more determined to reach my goal of joining a swim team. And along with this determination came the confidence of a swimmer. After so many tireless and vigorous workouts, I knew I was ready. It was a cold Saturday morning, and I had just gotten to the pool to start my practice. When I got in the pool, I started thinking about my first time ever stepping foot on the pool deck and the fear of the water below me. I realized that after all this time, that fear had been washed away, and that each practice, that fear had gotten weaker and weaker. This last practice felt like a breeze, and I felt like I could move through the water faster than I ever had been able to before. When I hopped out and I was done with my last practice, I knew I was ready. As the day of the trial drew near, I began to worry. What if I didn't even make it on the team? What if I failed the trial? But I told myself I had been training for almost a year. How could I even fail? After what felt like only a couple of days, but in reality it was about a week, the day of the trial finally came. After a long tiring day of school, I got to the NPC pool and hopped in. The coach doing the trial told me to do one lap of freestyle, which is a basic stroke, and then no problem doing. And then she told me to do one lap of breaststroke, which is another really easy stroke. After that, I was shocked when she told me I could hop out and dry off because I had just done the whole trial. I was really excited because I'm surprised that the trial wasn't really as hard as I had expected it to be, and that I could start swimming at that pool the following Monday. This experience taught me to persist, even if it takes multiple months or even years to achieve your goals, and to push yourself on the hardest days. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Gabe, and sharing your resilience and your determination with us. As you said, whether it was months or years, it was great to see that side of you. So, next, please welcome Lily.
I wondered why when it suddenly hit me. I was wearing Skechers and they weren't. Moving schools always had its challenges, but never got easier. Like some people, I've had my fair share of moving schools and have had the luck of moving 5 times. My first day at a new school, after leaving the only one I'd ever gone to in my entire life, had the biggest culture shock above every school I've gone to. Nothing would have prepared little 9-year-old Lily for what she was about to experience. My prior school was much more traditional, where girls wore their hair tied up in ponytails and braids, topped with glitter bows, and they wore shoes that almost never displayed a brand. This hadn't yet affected me until it came to the part of the day that I was dreading most, which was recess. Though I did love recess, I knew that I'd probably be alone for the first few days of school. I stepped into the playground, feeling down, wishing that my friends from my old school could just teleport to me, when a group of 3 girls asked if I wanted to hang out with them. I just met these 3 girls, 2 of whom were in my class and were considered to be the cool kids. I was nervous, but yet I still agreed. We all 3 climbed up a blue play structure and began conversations that I could barely add on to. With my limited knowledge of TikTok, Snapchat, and Emma Chamberlain, I added very little to these conversations. They began to realize that I had nothing in common with them when one of the girls named Michaela started up a new topic on her love for the shoe brand Vans. At this time in my elementary school, Vans were the talk of the town, but yet I had never owned a pair of Vans in my life, or any laced shoes for that matter. All the girls agreed with Michaela and began pouring out their hearts into how they loved Vans. When they realized I was quiet, they all 3 looked down at my pink and gray Skechers and back up at me, filled with disgust. My heart dropped when I realized this was the reason why they were disgusted. For the next week, they continued to let me join them during recess. I was still very hyper for a 9-year-old, while these girls were considered chill by my peers. In my attempts to connect with them, I tried to act chill too, which instantly backfired when I was put into large, unsupervised areas, like a playground. Unlike them, I got excited very easily, which usually happened during recess, where the idea of sliding down slides and climbing monkey bars made my blood rush. Of course, I tried to convince them that I was chill, but their definition of chill did not include playgrounds. They quickly caught on to this and began running away from me and avoiding me during recess. I wondered if this new version of myself was truly worth my time, if it hardly even worked. I didn't take this too hard though, and decided to use it as an opportunity to open my horizons to other groups, such as the kids who play tetherball, whom I could talk to far better than these cool girls. The next year, I started the 5th grade at the same school, except this time with a pair of black checkered Vans, mainly because I was tired of the constant teasing I received by my classmates. I asked the cool girls again if I could join them, hoping that this time I could become a permanent member of their group, even though I had a feeling that my attempts to join them would fail again. They all 3 looked down at my shoes, realizing that I had ditched my pair of Skechers for a pair of Vans, and back up at me, nodding. The process repeated, and it was less than a week until they realized my personality was an act. Deep down, I knew that acting like someone I wasn't wouldn't work out, no matter how hard I tried, and it wasn't worth my time. For a second time, I returned back to the tetherball courts. Despite changing who I was into who I wanted to be, nothing could conceal who I truly am. So don't try to be someone you're not, and live to be the most authentic version of yourself. Thank you.
Lily, that was great. I loved it. You had me laughing a few times. I loved the detail from the Skechers to the playground to the tetherball, which brought me back, and to the Vans. So now, our next song, our 3rd one, please welcome up Ayden.
For years, music has been a part of my life. In 4th grade, my school allowed us to join our school band and choose an instrument to play. I couldn't wait, and I knew what I was going to pick, the clarinet. My band teacher encouraged it, and I knew because Squidward played the clarinet that I could play it. I enjoyed playing it, but the next year I began playing guitar. Each day after school, I looked forward to playing, and when I did, time flew by. For those 2 years that I'd been playing music, I'd been excited to join the jazz band at my middle school. This genre of music was new and yet elusive to me. People played complex chords and played solos, where the musician creates their own melodies on the spot. I wanted to delve into it, but there was a little thing in 2020 that made this a lot more difficult to do. During COVID, school band was online and in-person lessons weren't an option. However, with this newfound time that I had, I decided to learn how to play jazz on my own. I searched the internet, and for hours, I would sit with a guitar under one arm and a computer in front of me, clicking through articles and videos online. I would find something that I thought sounded good and try to play the same thing back. However, progress was slow, and I felt lost. It seemed that each time I tried, the strings of the guitar would buzz, make some series of notes that didn't go well together, or often just not make any sound at all. And the more I learned, the more I realized I didn't understand, which was all the more overwhelming. It was hard to know if I was on the right track without feedback from teachers and peers. Nevertheless, while it didn't happen overnight, I improved over time. I started listening to different musicians and trying to imitate what they played by learning parts of their solos. This process was tedious, and often I'd go one note at a time by slowing a song down or skipping a song back by only a second, just to pinpoint the exact note that the musician was playing. Somehow, doing this, I slowly made a little progress, and it opened my eyes to what this genre of music really was. It isn't just played in the background, but a dynamic and engaging style of music. Despite the limitations of the pandemic, I was able to learn a lot, and was definitely glad to have something to occupy my time. When school was in person again, I was excited to join the jazz band at my middle school, and I enjoyed it. Each Friday, we rehearsed, and even though rehearsal was before school at 7 in the morning, I looked forward to it. To be clear, I did not look forward to waking up so early, which was pretty miserable for me. But it gave me what I'd wanted to do before, and taught me how to play in a band with others. And now, fast forward to today, and I continue to play jazz, both inside and outside of school. I often perform with my younger brother and with friends at events, parties, and at restaurants. And while sometimes the audience at these jazz performances is 50 or 60 years older than us, we enjoy it nonetheless. I am grateful that I took advantage of this time that I had. During a difficult situation, I'd come to realize that I did not have to be bored out of my mind, but that I could instead make use of this excess time. In our lives, our circumstances can hold us back, or we can instead adapt to make the most of them. Because adaptability creates possibility, and it is one of the most important traits that we can cultivate. Thank you.
Ayden, I really liked how you're able to bring something like the COVID up, which is, well, COVID, which is relatable to all of us, and how you actually use your time to be really productive and do something you're very passionate about, and it's cool to see how that's blossomed into something that you do regularly every day now. So thank you for that. All right, it's time for our last sophomore speech. Please welcome up Minx.
The waitress was looking down at me with a disdainful grimace, like her eyes were one moment away from rolling with this 12-year-old child who couldn't manage an order. My grandmother nudged me in an attempt to achieve a response, like I'd suddenly be able to make sense of the foreign words and high prices swirling around on the menu in front of me. As I read and reread the letters disguised with accents and marks I couldn't interpret, the The waitress finally surrendered and walked away, her clicking heels echoing around the infinitely high-ceilinged room. My grandmother tried to conceal her frustrated words with kindness, asking me as politely as she could manage if I wanted to go somewhere else, or if I could spit out an order already. The idea of her disappointment was already creating stinging tears in my eyes, and as I took another blurry glance down at the menu, I heard her sigh and pick hers up once again, trying to find a way to satisfy my impossibly picky taste buds. I desperately wanted to fit into the world she was inviting me to, full of white cushioned chairs, thick padded menus, and diamond jewelry. The waitress came around once more, at which point I simply gave up and ordered a Caesar salad with no croutons and no dressing, while my grandmother ordered their finest steak and a dish I can't even pronounce. I left that restaurant with a barely half-full stomach and the fear of my grandmother's disappointment still echoing in my mind. I've always been a picky eater for as long as I can remember. My parents assured me it would fade with age, but year after year, I rejected school lunches, homemade meals full of love, and critically acclaimed restaurants. I hate most flavors, most textures, especially any kind of interesting combination food. Oh, I avoided going to people's houses as it became an obstacle course I'd navigate as politely as I could of why aren't you eating? And, well, what do you like? My taste buds became one of my biggest insecurities, despite not being visible or within my control. Months after the sobering restaurant experience with my grandmother, I was spending time at my family's beach house, a family establishment which a few aunts, uncles, and cousins always tend to inhabit in the summer. We were luxuriating in an intimate family reunion, and I was trying to distract myself from the idea I'd have to stomach some food I was certain I would not enjoy. The food was finally served, and I tried to swallow my fears before I swallowed the first bite. To my surprise, the soft lump of unknown cuisine melted on my tongue, with a salty undertaste following a rather bland first impression. Although this may not sound appetizing to everyone, it's exactly the kind of divertissement that satisfies my taste buds. Shockingly, when I asked my aunt what this food was, she explained it was raw fish, poke. I remain a passionate hater of fish. The taste, the texture, especially the smell, but a good bowl of truly fresh poke is unbeatable. The idea that there was something out there that I didn't know about, and in fact enjoy, was thrilling, and brought hope that there could be other dishes that would astound me similarly. I started branching out, trying new things, even if I wasn't 100% certain I'd enjoy the adventurous flavors. I try to continue this habit, although my go-to dish will always be a good bowl of semi-plain pasta with a massive amount of cheap Parmesan. I'm incredibly grateful to my aunt for making this dish, because something so simple managed to open up my world in a way I had lost hope was possible. The value of trying new things is incredibly understated, and I'm so thrilled that I'm able to be bolder and braver in my choices, even with something as simple as a food order. Thank you.